All right. It feels hard to believe, but we have actually not done a draft on the Ship Chasing channel in the year of our Lord 2025. Today that changes. Pat Carrain and myself hopping in a big board draft, trying to take down that 250K. Can I get Pat Carrain to battle with his own draft assistant tool, the Sidekick? We're going to find out on today's Ship Chasing.
Pat Fryer Helmo.
This is why I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your sight.
Jamar. Alpha play chase.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally at this point. You're right.
All right. If you want in the draft with us, Pat and I need 5 more here for a big board draft. Pat, I've still been, other than my 4 War Room slow drafts that I'm in, I have exclusively been drafting big boards on stream. How many big boards deep?
I think I'm 25 deep. I need to pick up the pace, but did a little traveling. Hadn't drafted too much in the last week or so, but came back and gotten a few in. Yeah, some of the, I mean, it's a little bit, I'm a little bit torn because I feel like there's still some rookie edge that might evaporate like tomorrow and the day after when we start to get this combine stuff in. So I want to hammer a few more today. But some of the big rookie values are already a little bit, I mean, they're not like completely dried up, but there's some spots where I'm like, I wish I took more of this guy, before his price rose.
Yeah. I just, I've been trying to catch up on rookies with all you guys. And I wrote up an article for Fantasy Life for this week of just like 4 or 5 guys who I think will definitely get more expensive in the coming weeks. Some because of the combine, but
Did you say?
So I did. I'm on a Travis Hunter kick, and we'll talk about him.
Nice.
I actually enjoyed the start of your guys' conversation. I'm almost done with the video on the Deposit Kingdom. I'm going to take some pretty big stances on Travis Hunter and build a case for that.
We just raised him up pretty considerably in the ranks on the Combine Buzz.
I highly recommend. I listened to that episode this morning, or at least the first part, and I thought there was a good debate. Sacrilegious kind of offering more the bear side, and Daniel was a little more bullish. But yeah, I think he's going to get more expensive.
I do too.
Who's the I can't even pronounce these guys' names. Tootin, the running back. I think he's just going to scorch at the combine.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like a Thor
like
and some guys over at Fantasy Life think, he could run like, a 4.3 or something. And we know the market's going to double.
Oh, no way. Okay.
40 times.
He's funny because my numbers like him, but I haven't heard much about him, and he dealt with some fumbling issues and stuff. So I've been kind of like, I don't like know enough to be like, I'm taking a big stand on Bashal Tootin, but he's very much in the draftable mix at the end of the draft. That's intriguing that he might.
Yeah, because I was just trying to think, like, who are the guys that could have some eye-popping kind of, metrics? The other one is Harold Fannin Jr. I think he's going to test really well.
I do too.
And if he tests well, he's gonna really quickly become a pretty trendy pick.
He did really well in the zebra tracking data.
Yes.
At the Senior Bowl, so that's a good shout out.
So we'll obviously talk about some of these rookies as we get deeper into the draft. We got the 111 here, Pat. Nabers, Brian Thomas on the board. I've been pretty strongly Nabers over BT, but I'm always open to having my arm twisted to BT.
We flipped it recently to Nabers, and I'd like to go Nabers here. I think the Giants just are like they're serious. Like they're not messing around about trying to add a quarterback. I think they're very much in the Stafford game. And I think they might, be willing to trade up to number 1 to get Cam Ward. If they don't, they'll take Shedeur probably at 3. I doubt it goes quarterback 1-2. So they're going to be adding somebody that might not even be an exhaustive list of what they're trying to do. So if he gets a quarterback upgrade, it's just hard not to be excited about him after his rookie year.
For sure. So the turn goes Brian Thomas, Drake London. I love, let's see. It looks like by rank. Did you guys draw? Is this glitching on me? I think this is glitching on me. I love this rank of Brock Bowers. Happy to be heavy on him, or do you want to grab CMC here?
Let's grab Bowers.
Yeah.
He's yeah, he's such a smash. And I mean, McCaffrey there is a strong pick, but I think we have a good chance to get a running back that we like in the third. And if not, you know, there's guys that you can get kind of in the fourth, fifth, sixth range that are solid.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like if you guys are ahead of market on Bowers slightly, if you're like me and love taking him at the 1-2 turn or whatever, like you're going to end up with a pretty overweight position on him because you're essentially going to be taking him, you know, with any of the first 3 to 4 picks of the second round.
I think you want that though. I mean, he was so good as a rookie, and you know, he could have a pretty big quarterback upgrade too. And at the very least, it won't be Desmond Ridder down the stretch. That's just brutal.
This Tom Brady reporting of Matthew Stafford had him to his Montana ranch to discuss play. Matthew Stafford to Brock Bowers would be pure fucking sex, man.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, this starts kind of fun. This is like we're getting Stafford on one of these teams.
Yeah.
We probably want to consider Stafford later, to be honest.
Right. You know, where you are. Because that's one of the things that I've just noticed through my handful of drafts is, you know, there aren't as many clean stacking partners with how many musical chairs we still have with free agency, with the draft. Stafford, I think, is just a nice value in general. And if you want to break a tie in favor of a little galaxy brain correlation with your second round pick, it doesn't seem like that's going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, especially if you have both teams. Now, obviously, he could just stay with the Rams, which I think is still the most likely. But
yeah,
this is a fun gal brain play.
Because otherwise, as of this moment, there's nothing that you can really do for stacking up Brock Bowers unless you want to be like, oh, I'll take Jacoby and just like bet on the offense without the quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Which I think is totally fine to do.
Our guy Zach says Bowers with Stafford would complete the what if Puka had Titan eligibility career arc. We would get to find out once and for all.
God. He's so good at just like feeding the guy he trusts. That would be so fun.
Trey McBride here goes early third. I forget what I was listening to you on. You were more hyped on Trey McBride than I thought you would have been. Just one, because I know you weren't super in on him, or not like you just weren't like balls to the wall in on him last year.
I wasn't. Yeah.
And then
Gretch was the McBride.
Oh yeah.
Show. Yeah.
But then also, like when we talk, like you were pretty in on Marvin Harrison. Not that those two have to be mutually exclusive, but I'm surprised when I heard you as bullish on him as you were just relative to those other things.
I just think, I mean, I'm sold on him being really, really good now. Whereas like he did it for half a year. He sat behind Zach Ertz. He was a good, not amazing prospect. And I was like a little bit, we've seen some kind of 1 year wonder flash in the pan stuff at tight end. But once you like prove it to me for like a year and a half at the level he has, I'm fully in. Like I do not need any convincing that Trey McBride is awesome. And I'm not worried that he didn't score touchdowns last year. Like it's not like he's like a 225 tweener or something, 230 tweener. Like he's a legit tight end. He plays on all the plays, all the play action stuff. Like he'll score touchdowns in his career. It was a weird year.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
And it's like, you know, it's kind of, okay, we're on the clock here. So we have kind of this mess of, not a mess, but we have all these quarterbacks. So we can probably push quarterback if we want to go that route. And then you want to grab one of Kyren or Chase Brown here.
I'm down to do that. I'd also be down to take Tet and see if we can get one of the running backs back.
And then just push quarterback.
Then push quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. This guy, could definitely go double running back, but my guess is they probably mix it up a little bit. So you guys have an aggressive. So we just took Tet at pick 35, back end of the third round, ADP of 46, 11 picks ahead of ADP. Obviously, we're playing the game here on the side, and we were right to because the drafter goes Jackson Flowers.
Kyron's
Let's take
nice
one of these running
fourth.
backs, and then we could talk about Tet. Kyren?
I like Kyren.
Yeah. So is this have you taken Tet this high before? Do you think, obviously, you think this is well within where he should be going, late third?
I don't know if I've taken him quite this high, but yeah, I mean, I think he's an awesome prospect. He's like there is a little bit of a lower floor with him. compared to, the top end guys from last year, because he's not, I don't think, going to be like a big time deep ball winner in the NFL. We'll see what the speed is, but separation isn't like his strongest asset, especially deep. But he's a really good intermediate route runner, and I think will be a strong target earner. And
Yeah,
that's where you kind of look at him as like in that Drake London archetype. I was running comps earlier to start to get my articles ready on the prospects, and a guy who popped up that was interesting, is kind of a good and bad way actually, is Hakeem Nicks. Which, he was kind of like a bigger but kind of like possession receiver with juice, and then he suffered a bunch of lower leg injuries and was out of the league quickly thereafter, but was really good early in his career. And then Juju Smith-Schuster actually popped up as another kind of big-bodied, like, he was running out of the slot, and Tet will be an X, but similar in the sense of like, can produce after the catch, and probably going to see like not the highest ADOT, more of an intermediate guy. He didn't comp to Michael Pittman, but I think he's kind of also in the Pittman archetype, but I think a little more juice.
And I guess my only pushback would just be like, is it even possible for his landing spot to push him any higher than this? Is he going to be able to jump Worthy and Marvin Harrison and JSN, or is this like kind of the top of where his ADP would settle? And would you want to just try to grab cheaper shares of him right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable case. I guess like if you're playing the CLV game, then taking him in the late third isn't great. If you're like, hey, I want a pretty high upside wide receiver 2 bet in the late third round, and I know I can get a running back in the fourth, or at least I'm pretty sure I can, then I think he fills out the room very nicely.
Yeah. So we start Malik Nabers, Brock Bowers, Tet, and Kyron. Nice young trio of pass catchers there. Come back and grab Kyron at pick 38. The turn team went Lamar and Zay, which is kind of a fun double tap there. I feel like Zay is going to, he's almost like the opposite of Xavier Worthy. It's like he was out of sight, out of mind during that playoff run, whereas Xavier Worthy like really boosted his stock. But it's like, I still don't think anything's really changed for how good Zay Flowers is.
I don't know. I'm not that into Zay because I think you're kind of like giving up some of the breakout upside. Like Zay Flowers in the situation that he's in, like Lamar has played well enough to win back-to-back MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
And Flowers has been good, but not amazing. This past year, we had Mark Andrews tail off, especially as a yardage producer. And I don't know, it's like what more kind of could have been there for him to like really break out as a second-year player, where I think I'm now feeling like Flowers is a good player, but not amazing. And this is an expensive price to pay for a wide receiver like that.
Yeah, I think you are probably sacrificing, like, to your point, Zay Flowers isn't going to finish as like a top 5, 6, 7 wide receiver. Like that's just not in his range. But I also think you're probably getting a much better floor than you like. I think your floor is better than Marv. Obviously Tet.
I agree.
So that is, I think you're buying a pretty safe, reliable asset. And what I like about what this drafter did is you are getting the correlation there.
As far as stacking it, I'm into it if you're stacking it.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a little.
Sorry, someone mentioned, the board was frozen there for us. Sorry, Pat. We are actually on the clock here. My bad, guys. I don't know what happened over there. Jeudy, Ken Walker, Kamara, Sutton in here. Sidekick likes us taking a wide receiver.
Yeah, I'd be into either of the wide receivers or Walker.
Yeah,
let's has it.
Let's do Walker.
Kind of the reverse move of last time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where I don't really feel that strongly, and he does go Caleb Johnson right away.
Okay.
So yeah, we grab Walker. We'll see what he does here. Do you have a preference of Jeudy or Sutton if we have the choice?
Bo Nix is like so expensive that it kind of has me thinking Jeudy, but I'm fine with either one.
Yeah, so he does double tap running back there, Caleb Johnson, Kamara. So we have our choice. Courtland Sutton has the higher ADP, just slightly, but you guys have a slightly higher rank on
So
Jeudy.
Nix is
I don't mind going
86. When do we pick? Let's
We
just see if
pick-
Nix is realistic.
We pick next at 83. So yeah.
Yeah, let's take Sutton. See if we can
Let's
stack
give
him
that
up.
a shot. I want to see what happened with that draft board there because I had this up and it just like I was like nothing happened there for a while. Let's see if it works here again. What were we talking about? Oh, the Zay Flowers and Lamar together as opposed to a one-off.
No, yeah, I like that. I definitely like that.
Yeah. Why would we pass on Jeudy? Sacrilegious. I still have like sticker shock every time I see him. Like the song and dance we've done with Jerry Jeudy. What was it? 2 years ago, we were taking him at the 3-4 turn. And then I was like, oh, this fucking guy, banish him to the 12th round. And now he's back up here to the 6th round. And we don't even know who his quarterback is going to be.
But like to kind of go back to the Flower stuff, like what's the difference between him and Sutton? You know?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think Flowers younger has a much better chance for touchdown regression, right? Like Sutton has basically lived off of touchdowns. But yeah, I see your point. Like he's always going to probably be 1B in that offense. You could continue to see likely expand. Maybe they hit on another pass catcher or, they strike me as a team that'll continue spending second, third round picks on receivers.
Right. Or him and Jeudy. I mean, I guess quarterback plays the difference there, but it's like
I still like how his like distribution of points in a best ball format. Like he popped off for some really big spike weeks last year.
Yeah.
I remember him against the Broncos because that was my team that finished second in the BR when he went off for like 28 points there. So nice. I don't know. I think he's a volatile asset, but like I like having access to the Ravens, and I still think he's the best bet. Of those
Pepper Tony has a good comment. Yardage is the biggest indicator of touchdowns. Based on yardage, he should have scored 8-ish touchdowns. Will positively regress. Plus, he's attached to Lamar. That's all good stuff. I do think like in the 4th round, there's probably a guy who like smashes and is who you need. And it's hard for me to see him being that guy, but he could definitely. He has a really good weekly ceiling. Being a part of that offense, like you're pointing out. So
I think he's settling into how you think about Devontae Smith or T. Higgins or Jalen Waddle. I still definitely prefer T. I think what we've seen from T is definitely a cut above that, but maybe like Devontae and Jalen Waddle.
Yep. I mean, certainly better than Waddle last year.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing we kind of had told ourselves about the Ravens, at least heading into this year, was like, what if the defense regresses a little bit and they throw a more? I mean, there's always they were kind of an interesting roller coaster team this year, where the start of the season their secondary was really bad, and then they kind of shorted up.
They shorted up,
progressed.
Yeah.
So there's still kind of stuff there where if this Baltimore team had a bunch of injuries or gotten shootouts, it's like, okay, I want to start seeing. Zay Flowers in an offense that more resembles the Tampa Bay Bucks than, the Steelers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we start here. Pretty fun build. We got our 2 running backs, Kyron and Kenneth Walker, in the 4th and 5th round. We got Brock Bowers in the 2nd, and then 3 pass catchers, Nabers, Tet, and Sutton. Just as I looked at Kyra and Kenneth Walker, if this was 2 years ago or even last year, we would have talked about the scary dead zone for running backs. Is that like not even going to be part of the best ball lexicon this summer? Is anyone going to talk about any of these picks being dead zone picks anymore?
I don't know because it's kind of been broken up by like the Kyron and Walker are formerly like 4 years ago, probably 3rd round picks. So, which wasn't really a part of the dead zone. It was like, I guess dead zone was maybe late 3rd. I can't remember Ben's original definition, but it was kind of more like 4th through 6th was what I had it in my mind. 4th through 7th maybe. But by the time you get to the 7th, wide receivers starting to dry up, and you're kind of dealing with a different profile than you used to. And then you have like some guys like Najee is a classic dead zone back, but he goes in like the 9th. So. Right. It's a little different. 10th. I mean, he was going on like the 11th to start. It's kind of nuts.
that ties into the very first comment on the stream today. Pete, don't let Karain talk you into Najee. I got your back. Stay strong. Wow. I didn't know. I was
On
gonna
this
get
build, I
strong
don't know
arm.
that we need him. I honestly do like him as, at cost. When you start pairing him with, like, you have Travion Henderson and, Devin Neal, and you have Najee in there, he kind of ties the room together.
So I do, obviously we want to come away with Bo Nix with one of these two picks. The question is, do we think the Lamar drafter would take him, or can we grab Jalen McMillian and get Bo on the comeback?
I think I'm Bo, just because, like, we set that up and it's going to be such a bummer if we lose it. And I don't mind taking Warren or Hawkinson even.
You not minding taking Warren? What a shocker. Yeah, we can lock
I don't
Bo.
mind it. I don't mind it.
I don't think he was going to take him. I still like McMillian. We talked about this on our episode last week. I thought you brought up some good cases against him. But I still am interested, especially at this price. Right now he's sliding almost 10 picks past ADP. So
Michael Dubner's going to have an article out on Legendary Upside probably tomorrow. And he's writing up mispriced players. And McMillian is someone he had written up as a mispriced player, meaning he's overpriced because of the risk that Chris Godwin could sign there. But we're getting him here about 10 picks past ADP. I'm into it at this price.
Yeah. So he does fall back to us. And, on a team where we did take, again, I don't know if these words are allowed or relevant anymore, but dare I say detours away from the wide receiver position there. I think getting McMillian as our wide receiver 4 at pick 86 makes sense for this build.
For sure. Little Dodger says, how come it's Pete and Pat, not Pat and Pete? I was talking with Britt, and we're like, she just goes, how do you think we are to people? Like, are we Pat and Britt, Pat and Brittany, Brittany and Pat? Like, how do you, like, and we're kind of like discussing, like, how do you think, like, this couple or that couple would say? Have you ever had this discussion with Lauren?
I haven't. I mean, to answer Little Dodger's question, Pat and I actually did a best out of 100 Rochambeau series before titling this video, and I won. So we did Pete and Pat. I will say, I do agree now that Pat and Pete, I think the shorter name always sounds better first. And it's close between Pat and Britt.
Right. It's one
Britt
syllable.
And Pat, though, actually does sound better.
Britt and Pat
versus Pat and Britt.
We came to the conclusion that if she's Brittany to people, it's Pat and Brittany. But if they know her as Britt, which would be more kind of people or like closer friends, then she'd be Britt and Pat.
I think our friends, Pete and Lauren, Lauren and Pete, I think our friends say Pete and Lauren.
Okay.
Because we live in a male-dominated society.
Because the patriarchy?
Yeah, because of the patriarchy. I correct anyone if they say my wife's name first. But yes, I'm sorry. You know what? It's very meta right now. You gotta maximize YouTube thumbnails. YouTube does actually have an A/B title, or at least a thumbnail function. I think what I should do is A/B test these two titles, see which one leads to a higher click-through rate.
Okay.
And then we'll settle it.
I'll settle it. YouTube algo.
It's always weird writing
Becky
titles.
King says, not a fan of that.
It is this weird thing. Like when I title my videos on my YouTube channel, like I would never write Pete drafts a best ball team as the title, but like over on Ship Chasing, like somehow my brain immediately switches to like more of this third person, like omnipresence talking about the Ship Chasing universe. So I'm like Pete and Pat, like I turn into a different person when I write the titles for these videos. All right, there you go. Najee Harris off the board at pick 101 to Goods. Seems like a nice pick there as his RB3.
That's pretty good. And that way we don't have to draft him, so it works out well.
Yeah.
You see sacrilegious comment? I have people refer to my wife like she's a character in Handmaid's Tale. She's of the sack. I met Sack and his wife, and she was like, people just call him Sack now? I hate it.
Yes.
Well, like, yeah, that's probably weird.
That's the thing too. Like when I'm literally having Cooter Doodle on After Dark on my channel this weekend. And I like calling her Amanda, but then people like freak out because they don't hear Amanda. But I'm just like, I can't just keep calling you Cooter Doodle. And I certainly can't abbreviate it to Cooter. Like there's no winning in this situation with these online pseudonyms.
I think you could maybe abbreviate to Cooter, couldn't you?
I mean, hey Cooter, it just like that. It doesn't work. All right, we got a 1-2-4-1 build cooking here. About to pick at the end of the 9th round here. Some quarterbacks at the top of the board. The sidekick likes us grabbing either J.K. Dobbins or securing the stack with Mims, Keenan Allen, and Kelce also kicking around here.
What are your thoughts on Kelce? Because I'll tell you this: if Kelce's ADP was higher, he'd be higher in the ranks. We're going to kind of be riding him up on the announcement that he's playing. Are you into him at all?
Can I say this? Can we lock up Mims?
Sure, let's do it.
I like Mims here. Let's do that. But yeah, so let's talk through the Kelce stuff. I'll be honest, I haven't really recircled back to thinking about this post him clarifying that he's coming back. ADP 118. You guys have him 108. He's now right around the Njoku Goddard range. Price seems fine to me. It sounds like you're kind of excited about him at this price.
Well, not like excited, but man, I mean, he was still projecting pretty well to close the year and had, some decent production. And it's like the bar is so low at tight end, and he's playing. Like the risk is now, there used to be risk of straight zeros, and that's gone. So he's going to get more expensive than this, I would say. And Drake May went. This is how we calibrate the sidekick. Is as long as you have naked Drake May at the top, we know it's working correctly. But yeah, I'd probably be Kelce here.
Yeah, I'm fine with Kelce. Not a popular pick in the chat. Chat does not like Kelce. One other little feather in the cap. We are building out a Denver stack, so breaking ties in favor of AFC West correlation. Never a bad idea. Now have Bowers and Kelce as part of this. I don't think he's a bad pick, but I do actually wonder how much room his ADP actually has to run just based on comments like this. He was retired on the field this year.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly was not Kelce, but the dude, let me just pull up the game log, and I'll do Underdog. In the divisional round, he scored 21.2 Underdog points, half point PPR. He scored 18. Mm-hmm.
Hope you got muted. All right. While Pat is back, maybe I could look up the Travis Kelce box score and tell you what he did. Here's the recap of the team so far. We have Bo Nix at quarterback, 2 running backs, Kyron Williams and Kenneth Walker. Our 5 wide receivers, Malik Nabers, Tet McMillian, Courtland Sutton, Jalen McMillan. Look at all the McMillans here. Marvin Mims, and then our 2 tight ends, Brock Bowers and Travis Kelce.
Sorry, I unplugged the monitor with my foot. He had 18 points in Week 17 against the Steelers, 21 points against the Texans. Then he sucked for the last 2 games, which, is a risk. But as far as spike week potential goes, you're getting him in the 10th round. I don't know. I think he'll move up a little bit for sure.
Is it that crazy? Zach says did not expect a year ago that Travis Kelce would turn into 2025 Ertz Gerald. When you click Travis Kelce right now, you are hoping he has the Zach Ertz season from last year. That would be a really nice outcome for Travis Kelce.
Exactly.
Pat, I think your mic is maybe plugged into a different source or whatever. Okay, now you sound different.
Yep, thanks.
All
right.
Yeah. Kelce with Bowers seems super greedy. Greed is good, I believe is the term I've heard. So yeah, we're definitely getting greedy.
Yeah, plus Omega King says, what is this Kelce spike week these days? 14 points. I mean, he hit 18 plus in 2 of his last 4 games. Yeah. So I don't know. It feels like a little overblown to say you can't do that. But
the thesis is kind of you're saying hey, you're going to probably have some really low scores during the regular season, but you're playing it as they ramp them up again, load management when it matters. Travis Kelce is out there. And the other thing is, like, they were running away with the bye this year. If they play in a more competitive environment where they actually have to win games weeks 14 through 17, 18, you could maybe see his role a little bit bigger then.
Yeah, and you also say, like, what if so he has been the engine of the offense, and that's not working anymore. But if Worthy stepping up and Rice coming back could honestly be good for him, as like he is moving to the Ertz-Gerald phase of his career. But like, okay, like we're taking Mark Andrews, who clearly just like is not the Andrews of old and is, more of a bet on touchdowns and being a trusted piece of the offense. Andrews, did he already go? When did he go? Yeah, he went in the
Mark Andrews?
Yeah, Mark Andrews went in the 8th.
Yeah.
It's like the same. If Kelce's playing, isn't he just Mark Andrews? You're just hoping for some touchdowns? You hate
the Ravens. Zay Flowers sucks. Mark Andrews overdrafted. Look at you.
He's not running all the routes, and he's dropping critical catches in playoff games. This seems like Travis Kelce could do that.
All right, we're about to pick at 11-11. We got a 1-2-5-2 cooking here. No other obvious stacking stuff. I do love the price of Christian Kirk here.
Yeah,
he's still one of my favorite. And I think the guy behind us has 2 quarterbacks, so we could be able to grab Kirk Lawrence here if we like.
Let's try it. I like it.
All right. Yeah.
Paul said, isn't he just Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz is a free agent. So that's one reason he's not. Because we don't know for sure he's going to be back. If he is back, then yeah, I mean, he should go higher. I don't know if I would take him in like the 9th or whatever, but yeah, there's some additional downside with Ertz.
All right, we do get Trevor Lawrence coming back to us, so that works out nicely there. Bo Nix double stack with Sutton and Mims. Got Lawrence skinny stacked up with Christian Kirk, and some nice pieces around it. Yeah, this team is coming together in a pretty clean way.
Love it.
Who's your most? I know you said you were just like 25 drafts through, but who is your most drafted player so far?
Let me pull it up. Hunter Henry, and Drake May's not far behind. So
there you go.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, I have it at 36%. Jalen Wright, I'm at 36% on.
Okay.
I've drafted a decent amount of Gabe Davis, which is kind of gross, but he was free and will be there. So
yeah. Had some spikes last year.
Yeah, 32% Bowers. I've taken some Michael Wilson as another guy who's got a role free. Evan Ingram, Kyler. I have a bunch of Kyler. He's very cheap for what he can do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams goes ahead of him here. Brock, Bo Nix, definitely getting a nice. It's funny how that stuff works, where it's like, I understand he was a disappointment last year, especially when you could have just waited 3 or 4 rounds and taken Jaden Daniels instead. But he's gotten cheaper, and I think the offensive outlook is getting better. Marv in year 2, Trey McBride's ascendance, maybe they add another piece. Running game still good. Like, getting the discount there seems nice.
Yep. People not into Jalen Wright in the chat. I mean, he wasn't that great last year, but you have Mostert moving on. And a lot of this stuff on Achane, who's very expensive, is like, hey, man, don't you know that their offensive line sucked? Like, yeah, I do. But, like, it might suck again. And so I'm not that into paying, like, high second-round prices for a back who wasn't efficient. But you're getting, at the same time, like, if you're going to offer me much cheaper prices for a piece of a backfield that has been very productive under Mike McDaniel, at that point, I'm like, yeah, what if the offensive line is a little better? And they're able to actually run the ball a little bit more as opposed to just like doing all this like short dump off stuff to Jonnu and Achane. Get back to kind of more of the identity I think they want. I think Wright could be a part of that. So, yeah, just a second-year breakout bet at running back. Not overly expensive to make.
Right. And it's like, obviously, if they add someone in the draft or free agency, like you adjust. But we've also seen situations like this where nothing gets added and you're like, holy cow, his price needs to start to rise rapidly because he's a contingent upside bet at worst in an offense that generates a ton of points for the running back position.
Exactly. And they could add somebody. But that's another reason why I'm not that into Achane. Right? Like if I'm eating it on a 13th round pick and he drops to like the 18th round or whatever, okay. You know.
By the way, if you guys didn't check out ADP Chasing on Monday, highly recommend it. Had some very good debates on there. I actually posted a clip on YouTube and Twitter earlier. It was
a fun episode.
Yeah, Pat and Mike arguing there. And then also a lot of pushback in the comments about the Achane stuff. So recommend listening to that.
People like Achane.
They do. Anthony Richardson, and we got some running backs here. Corum, if you want to stack up the running backs. Algier, Ray Davis. The best receiver is Restrepo, a little bit of a reach. Seems like a running back pick here.
Yeah, I think Algier. We don't want to take Corum.
Yeah. Those are the spots where it's like if Corum like really slid, I wouldn't be opposed, but slightly ahead of ADP when there's comparable players like Ray Davis. I just assume
with the sidekick there, he's actually getting docked as the teammate, like because we're not trying to get you he's the handcuff. But we needed a running back there. So I think Richardson or Davis, but Richardson had some upside. I don't take a ton of them, but getting them way past ADP here.
That's true. I mean, there's a reason it's happening. Let's take Ray Davis. I mean,
okay.
Goods brings it up. There was the article that came out about the Colts saying it is going to be an open quarterback competition between whoever they bring in.
Yeah, that is bad when they're like, we don't know between who.
Yes, that was a huge red flag where they're like, whoever the hell walks through this door is going to have a chance to start over Anthony Richardson.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. We might need to bump him down even more.
I'm with you, though. Like, I still think as your QB3, what you're getting, the problem is it starts to inch closer and closer to the Justin Fields bet, right? Where the upside is there, but it's not even just like the question of the spike week potential. It's like, when do those spike weeks happen?
Yeah. No, you're right. There's a chance that he's not an early season starter. Before we were like, yeah, he's an early season starter, but he might lose his job by the end of the year again. And now it's like, I don't know. Is he definitely the starter by week 4? So yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad we took Davis.
Yeah, he's a tricky one. Those ones, like, that's a thing that has happened with best ball over the years where, and I do think the Justin Fields and those things have been good examples of it, where it's like, you can justify a lot of things saying, hey, I'm playing to win first in $250,000. I do it all the time. But if you stack these really risky bets over and over and over again, you're really going to burn a hole in your portfolio of teams.
Yep. Yeah, and I think with onesies, the risk of them not playing, like straight up not playing, because like, so for example, I wasn't into Kelce when he was like, had not announced right after the Super Bowl that he was playing. I was like, I'm out. He might retire, and I'm taking 2 to 3 guys, and one of them just is a 0 all season. Like, no thanks. And I feel the same way at quarterback with the Week 17 stuff. Like, if you're giving me a guy who's a real risk of missing the end of the season, and I only have 2 other guys, it's also February, and so maybe I have like 1 other guy because I'm dealing with an injury or something. It's a huge problem. So typically I've been fairly wary on the guys with late season bench risk. Richardson's a little different because he has such a high weekly ceiling when he plays. But you're right. I mean, it's pretty similar to Fields, although Fields goes just after.
And we'll be able to make those comps more clearly when we do find out who the mystery competitor is. We'll have a
frankly,
better
it could be Fields.
Now, that would be interesting.
I know,
dude. Then you just take both Fields and Richardson with your last couple of picks.
Yeah, dude.
In a draft.
Seriously,
that's fun.
Seriously.
For sure. Ferris saying his ADP could plummet if they sign a legit competitor. Absolutely. Like if they bring in the Darnold type, he's in trouble. Yeah. He's in big trouble because Darnold's a bigger impediment than even Russ would be, I would think, for Fields.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna lower Richardson a little bit. Not like, I think he's fine at some point in the late rounds, but it's just a lot of risk to take on when they're like openly talking about competition in a week where you could you might expect them to get up at the podium and be like, he's our guy. Like we like the Seahawks are kind of talking with Geno, like we expect him to be our guy,
Yeah.
They're not, that's not how they're talking.
Yeah. Vibes much better on Geno and just kind of, I know they ended up firing their coach and yada, yada, but still like Geno never imploded in the way Anthony Richardson imploded, where the franchise is like, holy cow. As Brett says here, the GM coach's job's on the line. We're on the clock. Stafford goes. That would have been our galaxy brain. Jordan Whittington here, if we want to pair him, he's top of the ranks and a nice ADP value. And then we could see if Shedeur comes back. Or do you want to prioritize Shedeur? What do you think?
We could also, Whittington's fine. Wandale's fine too.
Do you like Shedeur?
He's okay.
All right, let's do Whittington then. I'm just trying to think. I guess with Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I think I'm generally leaning 3 QBs here, but how do you feel?
Yeah, I'd be down to take Shedeur. I do take him in this spot a reasonable amount. He scares me a bit, like looking at his comps and stuff. It's like guys who weren't that good and then also like didn't do much right away because his style of play, he takes sacks, he makes mistakes, but then he also, I think, is going to score most of his points on as a higher volume passer. It could be not the best rookie season. Bryce Young was his top comp for me.
Yeah.
And I think it could be like that where he has to get his feet under him a bit, but
I think just positionally where we're at, getting a guy we feel pretty comfortable is going to be starting in the playoffs as our QB3 is good here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do like him as kind of filling this role on your team, and we're getting him past ADP.
Yeah, take him at pick 182. So we're up to 3 quarterbacks here: Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, and Shedeur. 4 running backs: Kyron, Kenneth Walker, Tyler Algier, Ray Davis. Probably going to have a nice spray and pray approach at running back down the stretch here with only 4. Up to 7 wide receivers. Think we recovered there. Nabers, Tet, Courtland Sutton, Jalen McMillian, Marvin Mims, Christian Kirk, and Jordan Whittington, and then Bowers and Kelce at tight end there. So in good shape positionally.
Historical Anomalies asked if Howell was a good pick 2 years ago. We were on opposite sides of the Howell wars. I was very anti-Howell because I thought he was going to get benched. But the Howell Bulls thought he was going to score a bunch of points before that. He did. Both happened. So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of, I think he was someone you probably were happy enough to have because he scored enough points. Like he crossed the threshold for the price. But I don't personally want to have to be in that position of hey, especially on a guy that's not a fully mobile quarterback. Where Daniel Jones last year I was out on. I know Eric Beinford, who was in on Howell, was also in on Jones. I think it's a little philosophical. It's what you're getting into. The guy's probably getting benched in the year, but he might score enough points to where you're good. So if you build the team that way, it's probably okay. But I tend to be I'm only taking 2 or 3 of these players total, and I don't really want the guys who are have strong chances of getting benched to close the year. To that reason, you got to kind of twist my arm on Derek Carr because I think he's probably not playing at the end of the year this year.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's going back to the Anthony Richardson thing, right? I mean, we saw a good sample size play out last year of him being the starter and actually not flashing the ceiling we wanted. Whereas with Justin Fields, it did feel a little more binary. Give him the starts and he's going to rip off these 40-yard explosive runs. A 30 ball is going to be happening every couple of weeks. Richardson, you want to pull up a box score. You can go pull it up. I was trying to make the case for him, and he had that one game against the Jets and one other game over 23 points, I want to say. He did not show a high ceiling. So even if you win and he wins the job, you make the correct bet, it's are you winning enough to take on the bench risk. And I'm starting to worry with Anthony Richardson that like, because of his passing struggles, that the ultimate ceiling we all, salivated over is not there.
That's totally fair, man. It's weird because when he has a good passing day, he does tend to have like quite a good day. And it's like usually he gets like a deep pass in there, but they happen pretty infrequently. It feels like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 weeks, you get the passing day. And he doesn't run like all the time. So he's much more boom bust than I was hoping he would be.
We're on the clock here. I do like the idea of Troy and just triple stacking Denver after kind of taking the plunge. And then you want to just like spray at running back down the stretch.
Yeah.
Okay. Grab Troy Franklin here as our 8th wide receiver, sidekick, seeing where we're at as well. Likes a couple of these rookies up here. La Quinta Allen. That's me adding the A because it's fun to say La Quinta.
Okay.
Had to get ahead of that. Brashard Smith, and then you're into Shipley. We got Estime, Khalil Mullings. Do you have a favorite running back who's available right now?
Yeah. It'd be Brashard Smith would be my favorite of these guys. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and grab him. Can you give me a little elevator pitch? I do not know anything about him.
Former wide receiver, actually going to be working out with the wide receivers for part of the combine. Is the buzz out of the Senior Bowl was like, this dude's a running back. Like he looks good running the ball, and decent size. I think will test pretty well as well. I was looking. Real Analytics has some like miles per hour stuff, and he has a play where he hit like really fast. I think it might have been. It was like 21 plus at least, and he was. He looks like maybe we're going to see him test them better than people expect anyway. And just so you're getting the versatility, you're getting a guy who can probably be kind of this year's Tyrone Tracy as far as the bet goes.
Sold. A lot of these picks, we saw a run on them here. Jordan James, another guy that I just continues to rise. Brugler had him, I believe, as his RB5 in his big board. So definitely some steam coming there. We mentioned Tootin earlier here. Pretty fun late running back class to throw darts on.
Yeah, Jordan James, I don't think is a very exciting prospect. He has the lowest breakaway percentage of any running back that I have. Going back years. And so that's not fun. But he has a really good success rate, and he pops for a lot of guys on tape, I think, because he's like a super consistent runner. And he played with Bucky Irving. I've heard stuff where like, he looks kind of better than Bucky to me, when they're sharing the backfield together. So he could be the type of running back who, I tend not to be as into, just like the churning out consistent positive gains, but not a ton of explosiveness. But really surprising in terms of the draft capital that you're getting.
Yeah.
Making him a pretty clear target at this price. If he were to run up, then no thanks. But like Tyrion Davis Price was a lot more fun if you're getting him in the 20th round, instead of post the steam. And that's kind of where I'm like, I think he could be basically nothing, even if he gets capital, but he also might be a guy who goes like 3rd round and is installed as a starter, and you're getting him for free. So he's kind of a no-brainer in the final rounds right now.
Yeah, and to me, where we took Ray Davis, and then you're kind of sliding down here. We took him at 158, and then you're to Ollie Gordon at 165, Garendo, R.G. Harvey, Eckler. I would just make the case too, like once you're in this, say, like 14th round range, it's like, go get your guys, ADP, the opportunity cost is essentially nothing there.
I agree. Yeah, I think
obviously
the other
you don't want to. You would have an absurd bag if you were constantly taking Jordan James in the 15th round. You'd have to have a lot of conviction and not much humility. But I don't think in any individual draft that would necessarily be a mistake, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, and I would say if I was going to say reach 2 rounds for a guy, it would be a guy who you haven't taken much of, but who you think is a good bet. And you're like, keep getting sniped on this guy. Just go ahead and get him. And that would actually be a little bit Jordan James for me because it's been, like I said, I haven't been drafting much recently, and he's someone that recently we've moved up in the ranks quite a bit. So, but my personal portfolio, I don't have so much of him. So he's someone like I would be very comfortable taking in the 16th round to make sure I get, because I think generally you want to be mixing up these bets. There's no one in this range. We were talking about this on the pod with Daniel and Sack, where it's like, what's going to happen post combine and as we get closer to the draft is we're going to start to understand that, like, hey, this guy that we thought was like live for like round 2 or at least round 3 is maybe like not guaranteed to get drafted. And this other guy who we thought was more of a day 3 guy is now consistently being mocked in day 2. So we're going to, and it's going to be more of the first bucket where like these guys are all useless, but there's going to be some big hits. And so spreading out the bets just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And there are, you're not getting a lot of guys free anymore. I mean, here's another guy. Can you give me something about Phil Maffaw?
I think it's Phil Maffa. He's big back out of Clemson, kind of like one of there's like a bunch of like big backs who didn't like fully distinguish themselves in college, and he's one of them.
Yeah, so
not someone I've really drafted.
All the fun ones are off the board unless you have a little love for rookie marks. Woody Marks, Estime would be the correlation bet.
I like
Terry
Estime.
Gibson. Yeah. Man, it's crazy seeing Jaleel McLaughlin too. Like thinking about that Denver backfield heading into last year and how you really did. Like if you would have gun to my head, I'm like, one of these guys is going to be a winner. Like there's one of these guys. And it's just like,
easily.
No, there were no winners.
No winners at all. No winners.
So one more pick, Mr. Irrelevant here, Pat. We got a 3682 brewing here. Sidekick doesn't mind a quadruple stack with Vele, or do we grab a seventh running back? Yeah.
I honestly don't either. I mean, I think Peyton spreads the ball around among these wide receivers. We didn't invest a ton in Franklin, and so you're kind of like, it's like 2 stabs at who has a good role between him and Franklin.
I don't mind it either. Let's do it. I like the big. I think it's different because I used way more draft capital. So if anyone pushed back on it, I would not put up much of a fight. But I did the like premium triple with Baker in one of my War Room drafts where I had Evans, Godwin, and McMillian, which is a lot of capital to spend on that offense. But just conceptually, I love the like onslaughts in the big board draft.
I do too, because it's very hard to stack in the big board. Like kind of stuff tends to get blown up, and we don't obviously know all the teams and where everyone is, so it's just like hard to stack. And at the same time, if Denver pops off in one of these weeks, it would be awesome to have a bunch of Denver pieces, and you're going to be going against fewer teams that are like overstacked on that team.
And the thing I like about it too is, and I kind of feel the same way as you, we mentioned like Bo Nix is a little pricey. Like I don't think it's bad, but it definitely is a smidge pricey. So when we are investing in him and we're saying he's going to return essentially 4th or 5th round value, like at least 2 of these pass catchers are smashing in that scenario.
Yeah. I do like the Shedeur pick, by the way, because that whole thing we talked about with Stafford just applies to Shedeur. Like, what if he's on the Giants? What if he's on the Raiders?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we potentially have that
2 outs at it.
Yeah.
Let me read the final team here. We can get some of your thoughts on how this build shook out. 3-6-9-2, 3 quarterbacks: Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, Shedeur Sanders. Got up to 6 running backs: Kyron and Kenneth Walker anchoring things there. Then Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, Brashard Smith, and Estime. Our wide receivers: Nabers, Tet, a quartet of Broncos: Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, and Vele. The other wide receivers there: Jalen McMillian, Christian Kirk, Jordan Whittington, and then 2 tight ends: Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce. Seems like a good team to me.
Seems like a good team. Yeah, I like. We got some correlation. Very strong on tight end. Running back's a little bit shaky, but we have like 2 week 1 starters. So we have some high end contingent bets. I think Brashard Smith is a nice kind of lotto ticket. Kyron couple things on the sidekick that Jordan said, Pete, we need you directly clicking on it to cue the players. That is a feature. You can do that.
I do know that. I just don't know why Jordan cares. It's kind of like a Peter Pat or Pat or Pete situation here.
That's true. You don't have to. And I do like, we went against it in some ways, but we also, like I love that Vele sitting there at the top, even if you don't, he was second, but I think I find it very fun to draft with for that reason, because you're like, I'm going sometimes second, third down the list, but it's hoping keep track of what you're trying to do in terms of the correlation and all that.
Yeah, and I do think like the Estime and Vele, what they cost you, relative. We always use the auction dollar analogy. I mean, these are the epitome of $1 things, where we've made such a massive bet on Bo Nix becoming the next great fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, and Javante's gone, and we don't know what they're going to do. Like he keeps talking about the Joker role and everything, and like, look, I mean, they could add Genty, and then that changes everything, or they could add a second round running back who would probably just completely replace Estime, because that's like the archetype of guys in the second round is kind of Estime but better. But once we start to get in the third round, like what if they add an RJ Harvey, and it's like, and now Jaleel's the dude who's out of a job. And so it is a deep running back class. Taking some of the handcuff types is like a little shakier than, it would be in like last year's class. But given the way the Broncos have run a committee, as long as you avoid some of like the clear landmines, the Genty, Hampton type landmines, then Estime feels like he could be pretty good at very, very little cost, and it's correlated.
Yeah, I mean, if you can bank a season where he's just like sneaking his way into like 6 goal line touchdowns at this price or something, like you're pretty stoked, and preferably 2 of them come in the same game in week 15 through 17.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
I'm into
sign
that.
me up. Cool. Yeah, I'm this is what always happens to me. I've been slow trying to moderate my best ball drafting this early, and then you start doing more of these, and the combine hits, and then you start talking about CLV and price movement. Next thing you know, you're like, maybe I just enter a few slows, just a few more slows, not that bad, just a few more slows.
I was hoping you were going to name this team Tet and the Quartet, by the way.
Tet and the Quartet. I know. Yeah, we need it's like the Tet and the Quartet. I like it. All right. I'll make the change. We don't need the 3.
I know
Who
it
cares
goes
about
against
the build?
your structure.
No, I like this. Okay, hang on. We're gonna go 227. I'll never forget. That this was Tet and the Quartet. There you go. The new ship chasing jam band, Tet and the Quartet. I think I had another. Yeah, getting both McMillans too is a nice little fun thing there.
Oh, double McMillian.
You know what? No one, how we finally, things have actually normalized. It was around this time last year that everyone was saying, who is the rookie that ship chasing is going to mush with the curse? Like there was, Davis was floating all of his names. This year, I haven't heard that talk yet, which means people are either too terrified or the curse has officially been broken.
Yeah, I don't know if it has, but I think we put a dent in the curse. I'll say that. I'm not 100% sure the curse has been vanquished, but I feel better about last year. It seemed for some reason it just felt a struggle. I think maybe we didn't draft early enough or something. I was just like unclear who we have. I mean,
well, this year it could form early, because the thing is we had to, with Gretsch too, when you add an extra person, we all have to arrive at a consensus too of a player we all love, which just adds an extra wrinkle. You and I could end up getting on a player quickly that we can't stop drafting over and over again.
We
shall see.
Travis Hunter, maybe. That would be quite a curse. My God, that means he's playing corner. That actually is. We should strongly consider Travis Hunter only playing wide receiver in the clip. And then he plays cornerback.
I'm pretty sure the ship chasing curse has been so strong that it has forced some of our players to convert positionally.
It honestly has. It's not the first time.
I know. I'm like, if we had been doing ship chasing way back when, I'm sure we would have had a Jordan Matthews clip. And then he would have converted to tight end. And,
We definitely would have. We definitely would have.
What do you got going on? I mentioned I listened to you guys had a little big board pre-combine round table. Yeah. This fabled Froton pod, is this just never happening?
No, it's gonna happen, but the combine got in the way, and my travels and stuff got in the way. So I will be talking to Froton at some point. And we're gonna be like I said, Michael Dudner's gonna have an article coming out.
Oh, nice.
Probably tomorrow. That's the plan. And it's really good. Mispriced players in best ball right now. Talks through some of the guys we were talking about in this draft actually. And I've got my prospect stuff ready to. It's kind of like, in the. I've loaded it in for post combine so that I can write up. I got to tweak it with the combine stuff, but after that, it's going to start. Going out there, probably start with the quarterbacks and then roll out to the other positions. So post combine, look for those dynasty rankings, best ball rankings, all over at legendaryupside.com. And we got the sidekick going for $100 a month right now if you're interested in checking that out.
Yep, we drafted today with leg up rankings and the sidekick in there. Super valuable, especially if you're doing a bunch of slow drafts and you need to get in there and quickly get reoriented. And remember that you drafted Bo Nix and should stack him with Devon Vele. Highly recommend. Some other housekeeping stuff. I'll have best ball breakfast and then ADP chasing on Monday. No ship chasing next week. Can't offer you a ship chasing, but I can maybe offer the people a photo of you and me out to dinner for omakase. That's going to be the trade-off of content for next week, since I'm going to be in San Diego, but we are going to meet up and go to dinner, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
I know, me too.
So yeah, no ship chasing next week. We'll be back in the saddle after that with our usual Thursdays. And I think when we come back, that's when we're going to be in the heart of kind of dynasty season. We got to get our crew back together
for sure.
Obviously for the mock draft, get some guest appearances from JJ, Ron, the RotoViz guys, lots of guests that we got to get swinging on through.
Yep.
All right. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out in the chat. If you guys want to become YouTube members, you can unlock the exclusive access to the Ship Chasing Discord. That is housed within the Deposit Kingdom Discord. We have our own private channel in there. There's an FAQ about how to sync your YouTube account with your Discord account, and then that channel will pop up magically. There's also a survey in there. I've been referencing this on a few shows. It is pinned. We're trying to nail down the dates for the 2025 Ship Chasing Meetup, looking like we are going to be in Florida sometime in early August, but we will still love some input on that. And shout out to Charlie and Chris G, who are kind of helping us behind the scenes to get that organized and get that rolling. Got some fun stuff planned for this summer. All right. Appreciate you all. We'll see you guys next time on Ship Chasing. Peace.